welcome to the channel. Today we'll do a full hardware setup of a racing drone using as main actor the Holybro Kakute flight controller board. We'll use good motors, good electronic speed controllers, and we do some hacks like a built-in buzzer that is possible in this nice board. We will use 300 milliwatts video transmitter that I brought back to life because it was broken, the connector. I will use an Frsky XSR receiver. I designed a case that you can download for free and print yourself. We will use the Racerstar BR2205, very powerful. And we'll use the brand new ESCs of Racerstar 30 amps that can handle the latest BlHeli S. Okay, let's get started. We'll go very quickly through each step, but still I wanted to keep as many parts of the process as possible. One thing I like from these motors is that the cables are quite well protected in the bottom, but still I will use hot silicone. You can see, for example, in the multi-star motors, the Mini Monster, they have the cables very loosened, and these other ones, the King Kong motors also, the cables can break easily. But in the case of the Racerstar, you can see how it will be even more protected. So okay, so we continue with the installation. As I said, little drop of glue will be enough. I like to write down the direction of the motors by writing an R in each arm, so it's easy to set the motors and also the propellers when you are replacing them. Don't put that much because maybe you will want to replace the motors and it will be very hard to remove them. Just a little drop. And still you can lose the screws, but it's better to replace a screw than to fight against one to remove it. We will try to cut the cables, but keeping some room. I like to, in this case, like to let go like 1.5 centimeters or something like this. It will be not so nice, but still you have some room in case of a mistake. One cool feature of these Racerstar ESCs is that they are quite small and the soldering pads are separated, so it's difficult that you have a problem, a short with when soldering. That's very handy. The Holybro Kakute has soldering pads for the ESCs, but I found that you solder there in the board, you could have shorts with other cables because they could be too close. And in this case, since I'm using 30 amps and the cables are quite thick, then I will solder all the battery cables very close to the XT60 connector. I will use, you can see, longer thick cables to ensure that there are no drops in the current. You can see that I'm using hot silicone for the cases of the ESCs, but then I improve much more the design by using this kind of cases that they are attaching pretty well to the arm, and you don't need any hot glue or anything to keep them together to the arms. I already tested them flying and it was okay. You can use, of course, any camera, but in my case I use a 10 euros camera, very cheap, with my own 3D printed case that can be moved in a lot of angles for the tilt. In this case, I'm not using hot silicone for the protection of the solderings because, okay, I wanted to show in the videos and check it this way. But in your case, once you ensure that the solderings are pretty okay, then you can use hot silicone to be sure that they are keeping together in the case of a crash. Ensure the cables so they are not cut with the propellers. And now we are soldering the signal cables of the ESCs. You can get the help of the pliers. The soldering pads are quite nice, but you have to be very careful not to short two pads. well, I didn't show in the parts of the video where I was soldering the radio receiver and also the camera, because it was not visible because of my hands. But in my case I use the PPM. I recommend to use the S-Bus if you don't want to add any other devices like a GPS, but in my case I want to use a GPS in the future, and I decided to use the PPM. It's not the best performance, it still has like 3 times more delay than the S-Bus, but still it's fine for me. I prefer to use the second UART port for other devices, but that's your choice, of course. Of course, if you want to use the OSD, then you will have to solder the camera to the video input. That is a very clear path that is written like V and I, and the video output you will have to solder to the video transmitter signal. For the buzzer, I really wanted to solder the buzzer to the board because the pads are quite big or big enough, and you can see there's no much room, but that's normal. We still have some separation, and you can see how I solder the buzzer into the board, so you save some cables around. Okay, so we have been soldering the board with the different components, and we have been testing in the field. And okay, I must say that it's very handy board. Okay, right now it's everything a little bit messy inside, but okay, as you can see, not many boards, only actually the board itself, the flight control board. It's funny because when you read in the table of the manual, then you see that you have B+ in this table, but then what I didn't realize until I was actually soldering is that you have B+, so that means you have the battery voltage where you can plug your electronic speed controllers. You have in each side, so you can plug there in each side B+, B+, B+ here, and also so you can plug your, for example, VTX, your video transmitter. That's very handy. I actually use one of them. I think you can completely avoid the use of the PDBs. Actually, I was flying, I didn't lose the signal of the video transmitter, so I think it's quite nice, this board. You can save not only the money of the PDB, but also the space that it's taking. In this, actually, this frame is plenty of room, but in other frames like 130 millimeters or other ones like the QAVX that actually doesn't have much room for a lot of components, can be a very nice option. So as I said, okay, in my case, I already started in my mind with the idea of soldering all the electronic speed controllers near the connector. That's what I did. It worked fine. Simply, okay, you have of course to make very good solderings here to avoid that it's breaking in the flight. Actually, I recommend to use hot silicone or hot glue to cover these parts. I didn't do it because I wanted to show in the video, but actually I think it could be quite okay. I crashed it a few times, it was fine. So I think very good option, this board, very well designed. Again, not only the B+, but also it's very handy that you have 5 volts in each side as well. I'm very excited about this board. I will play a little bit more. I
simply wanted to test. What I was more concerned about is that I was powering everything through this board, not PVV, video camera and the VTX, and it was fine. I didn't lose the signal. Sometimes when you don't have a clean power source, then you can get issues in the video signal. I didn't notice any problem with that. So I think it's a cool option. I will probably do my own setup that is using telemetry and also GPS, because I want to do some tests with the speed.
So this was the second video of the Holybro Kakute series. Subscribe for more updates, and I hope you like the video. See you next time.